Farming is an important part of civilization since it provides us with food and other necessities. Farmers comprise around 1.23 billion of the global population. They use various farming methods in accordance with the weather and the tools and supplies available. Farming involves a wide range of operation, including aquaculture, fisheries, food production, forestry, crop production, and livestock production. Farming in a community provides individuals with access to fresh food, environmental benefits, and opportunities for community engagement such as trading or marketing. First and foremost, farming is not only focused on a means of subsistence, it also involves the close relationship that humans have with the ecosystem. It also sustains and balances the community and protects traditional and cultural values due to the cultivation and use of natural resources for economic gain in human life. The primary goal of farming and agriculture is to provide a natural food source for human life. Since agriculture increases GDP through commerce and exports, it helps communities flourish economically. Farming is only common in rural areas because they are full of greeneries, which is good environment to build agriculture. In conclusion, farming is very important to our people because without this, we will lose an effective source of food and the economic rate of a country will be low because agriculture is a huge foundation in a country.
Demographic transition. What is demographic transition? A demographic transition is a long-term pattern of declining birth and death rates that significantly alters a population's age distribution. Birth and death rates, along with other variables like migration, economics, war, political and social change, famine, or natural disasters, are the main drivers of population age and gender distribution. What demographics change as economies develop? The potential for economic growth in an economy can be significantly influenced by its demographics, but demographics alone do not guarantee it. As economies grow, there are a number of significant demographic shifts that affect a country's labor force, spending habits, and social structures. These are some of the most significant changes in demographic. Number one is we have the age structure. High birth rates usually result in a younger demographic structure in developing economies. Death rates decrease as economies grow and healthcare becomes more advanced. This results in an increasing percentage of elderly adults in the population, especially when combined with a possible decline in birth rate brought on by things like higher levels of education for women and urbanization. Second is we have labor force participation. There may be a demographic dividend phase in the course of economic development. This occurs when the working age population outnumbers the dependent population due to a reduction in death rates, especially the children and elderly. This increased labor force has the potential to greatly boost economic expansion. Furthermore, as economies shift from manufacturing and agricultural to service-based sectors, there is a greater need for skilled workers in fields like finance and technology. In order to provide the workforce with these new capabilities, educational systems must change. Third is we have urbanization. As economies grow, people move from rural areas to cities in search of better living conditions and employment possibilities. Rapid urbanization results from this, which has an effect on city housing, infrastructure, and social services. And lastly, we have the gender inequality. Women's social mobility and access to education are frequently enhanced by economic development. Increased female labor force involvement may result from this, which may have an effect on family dynamics and economic growth. How can a demographic transition impact the variety of food and resources demanded by a population? The variety of food and resources that the population demand is influenced by a complex interplay of elements created by a demographic transition. By being aware of these changes, food producers and policymakers may adjust to shifting consumer demands and provide food security for a population that is expanding and changing. Once a country begins to industrialize or as its economy develops, there are changes that occur in the demographics or statistics of the country. These statistics include birth rate, death rate, infant mortality, and average income. The demographic transition or the DT model is used to describe the relationship between birth rates, death rates, and population growth in countries as they develop economically. Moreover, this model has 5 stages. In stage 1, there are high rates of both births and death rates. Primitive societies are typified by this stage. Population growth is sluggish due to high birth and mortality rates. Stage 2. In stage 2, there are declining death rates and high birth rates. Countries that are starting to industrialize tend to go through this stage. Population growth picks up speed when death rates drop as a result of advancement in nutrition, sanitation, and health care. Stage 3. In stage 3, a decline in both the birth rates and death rates. This phase is typical of nations with higher levels of development. Birth rates begin to decrease as nation grows more developed, frequently as a result of things like women's greater levels of education, urbanization, easier access to family planning services. Stage 4. In stage 4, there is low birth rates and death rates. This phase is typical of nations with advanced economies. At this point, population growth is sluggish or stationary, and both birth and mortality rates are low. And lastly, we have the stage 5. In stage 5, there is an extremely low birth rate, allowing potentially rising death rates. According to some demographers, many industrialized nations are currently in this new stage. At this point, the population starts to drop because birth rates are so low that they can no longer keep up with the population. The table above shows the status of freshwater and land use in the countries mentioned above, wherein it showcases the data of the land use for agriculture, amount of irrigated land, percent of the population working in agriculture, freshwater resources, domestic water use per capita, problems, population below the poverty line, and calories consumed in each country. In the land use for agriculture, Bangladesh has the largest proportion of land with a percentage of 70.1% devoted to agriculture, with Somalia and Colombia following suit as both having suitable land. Germany and the UK have a lesser share, with the UK having a more crop-suitable proportion but having less overall agriculture acreage. Although the USA uses a large amount of land for agriculture, its share of all land is smaller than that of several other countries. Amount of irrigated land. Surprisingly, compared to the UK, which had 950 square kilometer, Somalia possesses 2,000 square kilometer amount of irrigated land. However, the largest irrigated land areas are still in the USA and Colombia, highlighting potential limitations for crop production in some countries. Percent of the population working in agriculture. Bolivia and Somalia have the highest percentage of workers involved in agriculture with percentage of 71% and 29.4% respectively. This suggests a more rural-based economic structure, which we have 1.3% in contrast to developed nations such as the UK. Freshwater resources. Colombia has the greatest freshwater resources per capita, which puts water scarcity nations like Somalia in a vulnerable situation. Bolivia also struggles with water contamination while having a respectable freshwater capacity. Population and poverty. Somalia has the lowest population, while the US and Germany have the largest population. Somalia has the highest percentage of poverty, which is 72%, followed by Bolivia, where we have 39%. This demonstrates how poverty levels, water availability, and agriculture output are related. Calories consumed. The highest daily calorie intake is found in Colombia and the USA, while the lowest is found in Somalia. This could be a reflection of variations in dietary habits and food security. To sum it up, the table above shows that a nation's agricultural resources, water availability, and economic health are closely related to one another. Furthermore, a greater area is under irrigation in developed countries like the USA and Germany, and a smaller percentage of laborers are employed in agriculture. On the other hand, countries like Somalia suffer from scarce water supplies, a substantial rural labor population, and elevated levels of poverty.
Population growth of human over the years. Population growth refers to the increase in the number of individuals within a given area over time. Historically, human population growth was slow due to high mortality rates. However, the demographic transition led to a decline in death rates, resulting in rapid population expansion. There are several factors that contribute to human population growth. These include advancement in healthcare, increased food production, better sanitation, and improved living conditions. As a result, people are living longer and having more children, leading to an overall increase in population. Rapid population growth can have negative consequences. It can strain valuable resources such as water, food, and energy. It can also lead to overcrowding in cities, increased pollution, and habitat destruction for wildlife. In order to address the challenges of human population growth, it is essential to promote family planning, educate communities about the importance of sustainable living, and invest in programs that support economic developments and women's rights. By taking proactive measures to manage human population growth, we can create a more sustainable future for future generations to come. But how quickly has population increased over human history? Human population grew over the last 2,000 years. It starts in 1 CE, or Common Era, where the world's population stood at approximately 170 million individuals. In the 18th century, 1884, with the advances in food production, water supply, sanitation, transportation, and disease control, the population reaches 1 billion people worldwide. In 1927, after 123 years, the population surged to 2 billion. In the subsequent decades, the population continued its rapid ascent, adding a billion people approximately every 14 to 12 years. By 2022, the world was home to 8 billion individuals. And in 2037 to 2050, projections indicate that within the next 15 to 28 years, the population will further grow, potentially reaching 9 to 9.5 billion. So, what might have slowed the rate of increase? Slowing human population growth and reducing our consumption of natural resources are crucial to minimize the impact on our planet. Decisions related to lifestyle, population size, and resource usage play a vital role in preserving the Earth. As the DevCom student, we recognize the significance of education in creating awareness about the current state of the global population dynamics. Many people remain unaware of how population growth can pose challenges and impact our lives. As the population continues to expand, the demand in resources increases. leading to resource depletion, environmental degradation, economic strain, infrastructures and services, food and water scarcity, social challenges, and health concerns. Educated individuals, particularly women, can contribute to slowing the population growth. Additionally, tailored strategies such as family planning and fertility education, economic development and poverty reduction, gender equality and women's empowerment, healthcare and child survival, migration and urbanization, and global cooperation and sustainable policies are essential for addressing this global issue.
Population age structure. Age structure. This is the actual number or the percentage of a population that are in a different age cohorts within a specific population. We can further divide this cohort by sex and reproductive potential. Age structure data paired with fertility rates can be powerful tools in helping to predict a population growth. Population age structure diagram. In simple terms, the diagram is made up to two bar graphs torn on their sides. Reproductive potential is measured in the group of ages 15 to 44, so we call ages 0 to 14 pre-reproductive, 15 to 44 is reproductive, and 45 to 85 and higher is post-reproductive. Males are represented on the left side and females are typically on the right side. The percentage of the population at the bottom and then the ages on the side. These diagrams help to determine how a country's populations will grow. The structure on the right would indicate imminent population growth. The percentage or the actual number of the population that is of reproductive age in the percentage that will be responsible for increasing population, in addition to the percentage that will be reaching reproductive age in the following years. In the diagram to the left, the reproductive population is much smaller and there are fewer children in the age categories below the reproductive age groups. As you might think, the population of less developed countries are increasing at a greater rate than those of developed countries. In addition, a larger number of malnourished people also live in those developing countries. Almost all the hungry people, 780 million, live in developing countries, representing 12.9% or 1 in 8 of the population of developing countries. There are 11 million people undernourished in developed countries. What are the implications of rapidly growing populations and more malnourished people in developing countries? What might a country to do decrease population growth? More people in less developed countries lead to more food insecurity, worsening health problems, and more children struggling in school where education is accessible. Countries have taken various approaches to slowing population growth. In 1798, Thomas Robert Malthus predicted that short-term gains in living standards would be undermined as human population growth outstripped food production, creating a population crash. However, we have not seen this to be the case. Over the last half-century, world population doubled while food supply tripled, even as land under cultivation grew by only 12%. Raising productivity or getting more output from existing resources has been driving growth in the global agriculture and has proved Malthus wrong. In fact, at the global level, the long-run trend since the late 1900s has been one of increasing food abundance. In inflation, at just dollars, food prices fell by an average of 1% per year over the course of the 20th century. In light of the prediction of Malthus, the realities of food production since 1900, including the Green Revolution and new technologies which include genetic modification of various types, and precision agriculture techniques. What is your prediction about food production in the next 30 years? What strategies can be continued to use or developed to meet the needs of growing population and changing demographics? Based on historical trends and advances such as the Green Revolution, genetic modification, and precision agriculture, food production is likely to continue to increase over the next 30 years. To meet the needs of growing population and changing demographics, strategies such as investing in sustainable agriculture, promoting innovative technologies, improving agricultural education, and improving distribution networks will be essential. The implementation of policies that prioritize food security, environmental vulnerability, and equal access to certain nutrients will be important worldwide in the coming decades. Looking at the countries that have the largest potential for population growth, what are the causes of their large population growth? Countries with high potential for population growth are experiencing large population growth due to many factors, such as high fertility rates, lack of access to family planning, and low levels of reproductive health education. Are these causes related to source availability? The causes of large population growth in these countries are related to the availability of resources such as lack of family planning, poverty, and limited access to reproductive health services and education. What are the ecosystem limits? Ecosystem limitations include scarcity of natural resources such as water and land, loss of biodiversity, and climate change causing ecosystem change and loss of animal and plant habitats. What can humans do to address those limitations? To address ecosystem limitations, people can take steps such as responding to climate change, strengthening conservation efforts, implementing sustainability use of resources, and expanding environmental education.
The needs of an expanding human population are diverse and significant. As the population grows, so does the demand for key resources. Here are some of the main demands. Food. As the population grows, so does the demand for food production. Water. Freshwater resources are required not only for drinking but also for agriculture, sanitation, and industrial operations. Energy. As the population expands, so does the demand for energy, particularly for heating, cooling, transportation, and electrical power. Housing in urban space. As population density rises, particularly in cities, there is a greater demand for housing and infrastructure. Healthcare and education. A larger population necessitates additional healthcare and educational facilities to keep the population healthy and skilled. Transportation. A growing population necessitates a more wide and efficient network for moving people and products. These demands present problems such as the need for sustainable development, resource conservation, and technological advancements to support the global population. Natural population growth is caused by a multitude of variables. Here's some important factors that contribute to population growth. Birth rate. The number of births in a population is a major factor in population increase. Survival rate. The number of people who live to reach reproductive age has a considerable impact on population growth. Reproductive rate. The average number of offspring generated by an individual during their lifespan. Immigration. The arrival of fresh people from other places might boost the population. Resource availability. Abundant resources allow for higher populations and contribute to growth. Environmental conditions. Good environmental circumstances such as climate and habitat can help animals survive and reproduce. Disease resistance. Populations that are more resistant to diseases are likely to increase faster than those who are susceptible. These factors can interact in intricate ways and their impact varies according to the species and ecosystem involved. The factors that listed are indeed relevant to human populations. Here's how they apply. Birth rate affects the number of individuals added to the population over a period of time. Survival rate determines the proportion of individuals who continue to live at each age. Reproductive rate influence the number of offspring an individual can produce, affecting the potential for population growth. Immigration contributes to population size by adding individuals from other areas. Resource availability impacts the carrying capacity of the environment and can limit population growth. Environmental conditions affect the health, lifestyle, and survival of the population. Disease resistance play a crucial role in survival and can influence population dynamics through mortality rates. These factors can lead to complex interactions that influence population growth and demographics. Beyond the basic needs such as food, water, energy, housing, healthcare, education, and transportation, there are several other factors that impact human population growth. First is technological advancements. It can result in higher production and efficiency, allowing for the support of larger populations. Economic policies. government policies, governing taxation, subsidies, and social welfare can have an impact on population increase by influencing people's economic decisions to have children. Cultural beliefs and practices. Cultural norms and religious beliefs can significantly influence family size and reproductive behavior. Environmental policies. Efforts to conserve the environment and sustainably manage natural resources can have an impact on a region's carrying capacity and ability to support a growing population. Conflict and political stability. Wars and political instability can cause population displacement and alter population growth trends. These factors interact with one another and with the basic needs stated first, resulting in a complicated web of effects on human population increase. To understand population change patterns, these factors must be considered holistically. In this Venn diagram, the first factor that affects both population is food. In humans, sufficient food supply, a stable and sufficient food supply can support larger populations and enable sustained population growth. In nature, food chain length, the length of food chains, can influence the stability of populations within an ecosystem. Complex food webs with multiple trophic levels can lead to more stable population dynamics. Water. In human conservation efforts, sustainable water management and conservation efforts are crucial to ensure that water remains available to support growing populations. In nature, essential for life, water is essential for all life forms. It's a critical component of habitats influencing their formation and maintenance. Birth rate. In human labor force, a growing population can provide a larger labor force which can drive economic growth. Nature, carrying capacity. The environment has a carrying capacity which is the maximum population size that it can sustain. High birth rates can push populations toward this limit, leading to increased competition for resources. Last, immigration. In humans migrate to another country to have a stable and high-wage job. In nature, animals migrate to other places to have a better home and sustain their lifestyles. Lastly, technological advancement is one of the factors that been selected. In modern times, technological advancements continue to influence population growth, primarily through improvements in healthcare and agricultural productivity. Medical technologies reduce mortality rates and extend life expectancy, while agricultural technologies increase food production, both of which support larger populations. Moreover, technological innovations can lead to economic growth, which can also support larger populations by improving living standards and access to resources. However, it's important to note that while technology can stimulate population growth, it can also contribute to population stabilization. For example, advancements in reproductive health technologies such as contraception allow individuals to control family size, which can lead to lower fertility rates and slower population growth.